I'm Shivs.
And I'm Nat, and together we are the Sisterhood Circle podcast.
Our vision is to create connections with our community and inspire change in the world.
So be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to find out more.
So let's dive into today's episode.
Ready, mate?
Ready. Right.
Waiting your bloody turn.
Are we ready to go?
Yeah, sorry, I was just being funny.
Oh, yeah.
I was just chatting.
Right, so as Nat said, waiting our turn. This is episode number 2. So wanted to kind of get straight into the nitty-gritty of what that means. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the law of attraction and what it is, how I learned about it myself, and then probably how I then passed that on to you.
Massively.
Yeah, so I was straight out the rapper, college, uni, all of that kind of stuff when I got my first job in Curves. Started working down in Curves in Ayr as a circuit coach, and the owner of the club at the time then asked me to go up and manage his gym in Paisley. We shout out to Hugh. And very quickly after becoming the manager up there, Lauren came on board. She was my manager at the point, and both of them were very, I would say, tuned in.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what it was at the time, and I remember Lauren giving me a book called The Secret and saying, Siobhan, I wasn't Shivsy at that, but I was Siobhan, right? You need to read this. And I would say for me, in my life, I probably didn't have anybody that was maybe that way inclined. So it was quite a new experience for me that was maybe like people thinking about personal development and growth and all of that kind of stuff. And I read this book, The Secret, and I was like, how does everybody in the world not know this amazing stuff? And I got really, really excited about it. But for those people that don't know out there, the law of attraction basically is whatever you give out to the universe through either your thoughts or your actions or your behaviours or what you talk about, the universe will bring that back to you. It'll attract it back to you. So if you are talking about things that you want to achieve, you're focusing on your goals, then you're going to bring more of that back to yourself. If you're thinking about all the hard stuff in your life, how negative it is and how tired you are and you're going to attract more of that back to yourself. So as I said, I learned about that very, very, very early in my career, and I would say it's probably shaped and moulded me into the person that I am today. And for a lot of my coaches that I've worked with, I've either bought them the book, The Secret, or we've spoken about it. And I would say that we actually run the business in that kind of
100%
way. Like we would, one of the things that everybody knows about me, if I asked you how you are, you don't say, I'm all right, right?
Yeah.
I think it's so important from even the language when you speak about yourself. If you go like that to somebody, I'm not too bad, straight away, you're putting that out to the universe that you're just not too bad. So just by changing maybe your energy around something and going like that, I'm good. Like straight away, that feels energetically different, doesn't it?
Makes a difference.
It definitely does. So, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. And obviously then your experience with that then,
you would have passed that on to me probably at a time in life where things hadn't necessarily gone the way I'd expected. I had studied in college. I had this map in my head of what I was going to do when I was a grown up and what it was going to look like. I'd applied for university, never get in, and I remember being like this is the end of the world, what am I going to do here? And it was a point I was dropping you off at the airport to go visit your dad, and it's mad how much I remember this. And you'd said to me, as one door closes, another door always opens. You need to read The Secret. And I was just going away on a family holiday to Australia at the time, and I'd taken the book. I actually think you might have given me the book now that I think about it. And I remember reading it and being like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And then I'd been a bit like, why is not everyone doing this?
Yes.
If I can impact the majority of the things that I can do and the impact the people around me and the environment, the energy, why are other people not then looking at doing this? And I think a lot of people think, like, when you say the law of attraction, oh, it's a bit airy-fairy.
Aye.
Like, people have got this limiting belief, and you're going, well, if that's your bloody attitude towards it, then you need to change that. No wonder it's airy-fairy. So you go, right, that's what a lot of people would say. And there might be some people that listen to this and go, as soon as they hear it, that's the first thing that's come into their mind is, oh, airy-fairy. It's not just what you say and you get back. I think people think what you say, like you just say, I'm going to become really wealthy, and straight away you become wealthy, and it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And when you look at it in the bigger picture, and it's then how, as you say, you speak about yourself, how your actions then start to coincide with what your vision is. I mean, one of the greatest things you ever taught me was how to do a vision board.
Yeah. And that's like, again, it's one of those things that always blows my mind. Like, say, whenever I speak to somebody about a vision board, they say, what's a vision board? And I'm like, hang on a minute.
How do you get through life without that?
How do you life without a vision board?
How do you life?
How do you life without having a vision board? Like, what are you working towards? Yeah. And I know that sounds, I don't know if that sounds a bit mental, because it's always been something that I've always been like probably hyper focused on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that again is just maybe being introduced for like to it so young in your life that it's just like, how is nobody else doing this? So yeah,
Massively.
Anyway, back to the vision board thing.
So like went away on this holiday at a point where I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do in my life. I'd always thought I was going to be one of these people that like studied, went to university, like probably had a map in my head of what I thought everyone else expected me to be. It was actually, when you look at the law of attraction and the vision, was it nothing what I actually wanted? It was just what I believed I should have done to fit the norm. Came back after reading it, created what my vision board was going to be. And even when I think back to that vision board to this day, it's one that 90% of that was ticked off in such a short period of time, just because I got clear. I get clarity on exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
I get clarity on what my purpose was and what I wanted to get out of my own life.
Yeah.
And see, when you get really real on that, it's amazing what could be created. And as you say, one door closes, another open. That's when I stepped into being assistant manager down in Irvine, and the opportunities that created from there was huge. And I think the opportunities that you've created for not only your teams, but the wider community of the clubs at points to create vision boards, and what that does for them is massive.
Yeah, I remember that first time that we did that vision board workshop. In fact, no, it wasn't the first time, because remember we did that March into Mindset. And we did that, and we did the vision board through
That one too.
Aye, we did that through Zoom. Actually, I forgot about that too.
That was a great thing.
That was actually brilliant. But do you know what happened? I pulled out one of my vision boards. I keep them in the loft, right? Weird, but I just like to have them. Aye, that's really love. And I was like, right, do you know what? Actually, I can't really get out to go, because it was locked down to get a vision board. I must have one up in the loft. So went and brought it down, and I started looking at it, and I was like, oh, I did all that, did that.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely such a brilliant thing to be able to show people. Like, and that was through Zoom. But yeah, to circle back, we then did the 2 vision board workshops. It was the very beginning of the year, wasn't it?
It was 2023.
Aye, but it's like January time, wasn't it? And it was freezing, because the gyms, if anybody works in gyms or owns gyms, they are Baltic all of the time. So members were there with their wrapped up and their hats on and all of that kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, the amount of people that showed up for that workshop, and it was just part of what we give. It wasn't anything extra.
Yeah.
It was just something that I wanted to do, because I wanted to be able to let people know what the law of attraction was, and how everything that they think about themselves is going to manifest in their life. And when you work in the gym environment, if you're seeing people on a daily basis, and what you hear is, it can be so negative. They're not being negative about anybody else, but about themselves.
Yeah,
like
hugely.
say things like, I'm not good enough, or I'm overweight, or I can't fit into these clothes, and I'm never going to be strong enough to do that. And like, the more you hear those things, like, the more you're just like, if we could just change our language and just change our perspective, and maybe even just change our focus to, instead of being like, I'm not strong enough to do that, like, I'm getting stronger every day. And if you can just make more people aware that the language that you use day in, day out, when you wake up in the morning, like I said, I'm knackered, I'm tired, I'm bored, let's start getting excited about it. And that's the reason that we decided, right, let's do these vision board workshops. And everybody came and they were all wrapped up and brought their own chairs and all that. It was Baltic, it was January, it's fitness, it's freezing. And I'd just come back from Blooming, been away for a month as well, because I like to treat myself at the end of the year, a nice wee holiday. But I remember sitting there, and again, probably going like that to myself, who am I to be leading this?
Yes.
Right? And then you check yourself, because the law of attraction, of course, I've been practicing this for so many years, I can do this. And seeing people's faces change when they hear, actually, I'm the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Oh my God, actually, what I'm focusing on is probably not giving me what I want in my life. Right, what we're going to do here, we're going to actually put down on paper what you do want. Like, if you were going for a job interview, you would be thinking to yourself, right, what am I going to get out of this job? Like, why do I want to do it? What have I got to give? What are my good points? Why are we not thinking about all of this for the whole scope of our life?
I think people forget, like, that they're author of their own story.
100%.
Right? And we live in a world where sometimes people can be like, oh, that always happens to me. I'm just cursed, or I'm just not meant to be, like, oh, this is just where I'm going to be stuck. Like, no real aspirations. But see, when you get clear on that and you realise that, you know what, you can write your story. And yeah, it's not to say it's going to be easy. It's not to say there's going to be bumps in the road. But see if it's the right path, and if it's what you really believe that you want, your actions will replicate that.
They'll mimic it.
Yeah. Has there ever been a point where you've created a vision board and it's not, like, the right intention behind it?
I wouldn't say a vision board.
Yeah.
I would probably say a vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, to be honest with you, it's probably going to lead quite closely into what we spoke about. This episode's going to be around about the Dubai Dream. Yeah. So for me and Nats, we have been working with each other. I never say Nats works for me, right?
Yeah.
I don't like that saying, because we work together, right? And we have been working together for a really long time, and we decided that we were going to just, like, explore the possibility of opening a Curves in Dubai.
Yeah.
We got excited about it, but we got excited about it because we thought about what it could give to us instead of what we could give out there. And I think, like, when you mention that there, it automatically makes me think about a time where I was on holiday. Do you remember? And I met this amazing woman, Kathleen. Law of attraction again in full force here, right? So I noticed this woman, and I was like, what's she reading there? And I can't remember the book that it was anyway. She was, like, reading it. And I was like, she's looking interesting to me. And I was in Thailand at the time. And the next thing, I went to this restaurant, and there she was again. And then I showed up to this beach club, and there she was again. And I'm genuinely like this. If you're seeing somebody this often, there's something in that, like, synchronicity. It's like, why am I keeping seeing this person again? Like, I totally believe in taking action when you see this. And I went, right, to Stuart, I went, there's that woman again. Stuart's my husband, by the way. I said to Stuart, there's that woman again. And I was like, if I see her again, I'm going to speak to her.
Yeah.
And then me and Stuart stood up to leave, and she stood up and left. I was like, right, all right, come on, let's go for this. So I was like, listen, I've seen you, like, around blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I've noticed you as well. She was like, ends up that so she lives in...
Somewhere.
She lives somewhere.
She has a home.
It's kind of Scandinavian. But I'm really rubbish at geography. Please don't judge me. But
probably better you've forgotten probably pronounce it wrong.
Yeah, anyway. So, and she then told me that her dad was for Paisley.
That's royal thing to do
this anyway. So we ended up getting chatting, and she was into, like, how do you say that? Numerology? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, astrology.
So glad you were
all of that. Me too. That's a story for another thing. Anyway, so I met her again the next day, and we sat down, and she did all of this stuff with me, and she was like, you have got, like, a bigger story to tell. She was like, you've got something to offer the world, which is, when you're a person like me, I was just like, right, okay. And I was pure buzzing with it. What she said is, do never chase the money. That's what she said to me, because it won't work. That's not why you're here. And I went, right, okay. And I think that, not that it's ever been about financial gain, but everybody's in business. Of course you have. Like, you're not there for nothing.
Yeah.
But for me and for you as well, it's always about what you can give and what you can provide. And that's why we're always thinking about new and inventive ways to maybe do things for members in the gym. It takes a lot of hard work behind, a lot of time, 20 years of investing in yourself and your learning and stuff like that. But I think to circle back to Dubai and what you had said about maybe it being the wrong vision, I think it was.
I can vividly remember us sitting in between like Christmas and New Year at a beach club in Dubai, and it was just the two of us on like one of those big round like seated things. And one of the things was like, think how much you could make out here.
Yeah.
And we've never ever got into anything and explored something based on how much you could make. It's always been what we can do. And don't get me wrong, that there was a level of excitement surrounding that. We got excited about the lifestyle that could come with it. Got excited about the opportunities. And there was an element of there's a real need for it. And Dubai, there really is. Like, in the amount of people you could help from that could be huge.
Connection in Dubai.
Yeah. But it wasn't our number one reason. And we explored it. We got excited. We then came into January. We were chatting, remember that day in the car after our managers meeting, actually.
We got very excited.
We got really excited. I think for probably not the same reasons, but different reasons and stuff as well. Like, we're very much at different points in our life. Yeah. So there was elements of things that for some of us were like more enticing than others. You then went out on your trip out to Dubai.
And genuinely, as soon as my feet hit the ground in Dubai airport, something winced in the side of my body.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, like, I believe my gut aligns with everything, and automatically I arrived there and it went, nope. Yeah. And I went, shit. And I really did, because firstly, I'd convinced Stuart.
That's wild, by the way.
I mean, he doesn't need convincing to get on a flight. Let's be honest. There's no
not the case
there. But we had planned to do another trip, and we had went, right, okay, do you know what, we're going to invest and we're going to go over here and we're going to, like, we'd arranged to go and meet people and all of that, and your dad was obviously there, he was part of it. But as soon as my feet hit the ground and I was standing in the taxi queue, and I felt this feeling of overwhelming, oh no, I'm doing the wrong thing. And I went and I like met my cousin and my cousin's partner. And he was telling me about what business in Dubai's like and how it's so cutthroat, and you wouldn't be able to be the same person that you are to like at home. Every man for themselves. And straight away I went, oh God, right, okay. And whether that be right or wrong, like it was a feeling. And I remember going to a brunch, and at that point, I think that was that the March I went?
Yeah.
I had been not drinking any alcohol at all, which kind of tends to happen anyway for me. I only drink if I'm going out to social occasions, but I decided no, I didn't want to drink. And I went to my first sober brunch in Dubai.
That's an experience.
That was a vibe, not. 2 heroes and 2 hours flat. And noticed a lot of things probably about Dubai that I didn't really love. And it was probably, for me, a real eye-opener to what I hold as values. Yeah. And my values are connection and spirituality and making a difference to people. And I thought to myself, I don't know if that's what this would be in Dubai.
I think you'd never been in Dubai without it being a holiday. I think that's something like we speak about quite a lot, like at the time, but also when we reflect on 2024 and exploring this and what came off the back of it, the challenges, like it was hard looking at all of this and still running your business, holding down a full-time job, thinking about it with your best friend. Wasn't easy either, because there was like real honest conversations that we'll go on to talk about. But for Dubai, you had always been a holiday destination. My mum and dad had lived out there for, at this point, like 8, nearly 9 years. So it was like a second home for me. I was used to not always being out every night in Dubai when you're there, like doing the more relaxed family things of just grabbing a coffee and going a walk. So I think it was a really, upon reflection, great that you went out to go, how could I live here? Because I imagine you hadn't.
You imagine we just decided that me, you and Stuart were renting that apartment that we were looking at.
I think that friendship would have been over. Like, I mean, like, we're best pals, but
Living with your best pal and our husband.
Yeah, I mean, that is an experience, right?
I mean, what were we even thinking?
So we've got that, and then we've got if my mum's listening, she's got to be buzzing with this. We've got that I'm not the most tidiest and organised person.
Your mum?
So we've got that, but you went out there on that trip, obviously with those feelings. How did you then feel looking at what we were ideally wanting to do together and the stages we were at, and then coming back from that?
I'm not going to lie, I was absolutely shitting myself to tell you. I remember that night after brunch, Stuart and my cousins and that, they went to a pub and I was like, I'm done. 5 in the afternoon. I was walking around. What was it? Waitrose, Spinneys?
I were on the Hill Mall.
I was
pricing up how much I can butcher in Dubai. Don't sign me up this place till I've got
like, hang on a wee minute. Where's the non-UPF stuff?
I think as a country, Dubai, like for anyone that's not visited, like it's an amazing place to see.
Yeah,
It really, really is. There's so much culture behind it, but it is a billion degrees a lot of the time. So outdoors, things that we really value are like, we would love to go like climbing rows and all that. That's how you would spend weekends and fitness. You can't really do it there.
Yeah.
So there's an element of sunbathing or brunching, and a lot of the things that you would do in Dubai are very much alcohol orientated, believe it or not. So if that's not something that you value or you look at, it then goes, how does that work? And I think that was one of the big things that day for you.
It was
when you were on
huge. What would I do here?
Yeah.
And I remember actually picking up some Dubai chocolate. Which I'd never
Did you
tried
get it before it was like the craze in their first?
It was actually pretty nice.
Was it? I've never tried it.
It was nice. So it was, but I definitely think it must have been UPF, so I don't know what I was looking at the jars for. And then I was
So
thinking,
you're just saying this and you never brought me a bit. Were you a bit sad with that?
you expect me to keep treats in my suitcase here if you're not. But yeah, anyway, so I went back to the hotel room and I remember I had my wee flip-flops on and I was walking back. And I sat down in the bed and I went to start reading my book and I just busted out crying. Because the thought of letting you down was it. I knew how excited you were about it. And I knew in my heart, because we had this conversation prior to me going out, was there is to be no grey areas. If one is, like, you call a spade a spade. And I think our relationship is very much
definitely
based on that honesty and integrity. And if we call each other out.
It's not what we want to hear, we still say it.
Aye.
Yeah.
In the nicest possible way. We love attached to it. But my thought process when she's booked her flights, she's coming out here in a couple of weeks. I've met up with her parents and this is absolutely with every fibre in my being not what I want.
Yeah, it's food properties and everything, man, remember?
Aye, And I mean, see, to be fair, like, see, when you think about that now, what you would have plugged into that. Like, I don't even know what
I feel like
thinking.
every conversation we had was like another zero.
I
just had on another zero.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew that I had to come back and I knew I had to have this conversation and I was greeting my eyes out like I'm not even kidding on. And then Stuart came in stoating sideways. Sideways. Because that's what most people do in Dubai. And I just remember like the next morning getting up and going out and sitting on the veranda or the balcony, whatever you want to call it.
Veranda.
That's what I call it.
That's something my gran would say.
Listen,
Put the veranda in.
my wee granny Josie had a veranda and that's what it's called. It's called a veranda. But anyway, I went out to sit on my veranda and I had the book that you gave me because Nat's like rocked up the night before I was leaving to go to Dubai. God love you wee sweetheart. With this purple like notepad, Nats is right into stationery. I like it as well, but Nats is right into it. And what did it say on the front? Yeah, the Dubai dream.
What did it?
No pressure.
I can't remember.
Aye, well, yeah.
Make it
no
work.
pressure, make it work. It's the dream. And I opened it up and I started writing pros and cons, and I had, I think, 2 pros and the rest were cons.
Pick up and like frisbee off the veranda.
I mean, it's still like underneath my unit in the house, so it is. Yeah, it's still there. I mean, it's a tree. It's a tree. I don't want to waste it. I maybe could scrape
you know what?
it out.
It's a period of life that there's learning curves.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I knew that I had to have that conversation with you when I came home, and I knew that was going to be a really, really tough one because I knew that you were at a point in your career where you were starting not to get itchy feet. I don't mean that. You were ready for the next.
Probably an element of I was comfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm someone that never likes to be not never likes to be comfortable. That sounds really bad, but I would say there's always aspirations of like what's next. I like to be like that feeling of uncomfortness.
Being uncomfortable.
Being uncomfortable. I like that feeling where you're pushed and you've got to strive for it. And I think there's always, for me, I genuinely believe I can create more of an impact constantly. So I was maybe at that point in life, which was playing on your mind maybe a wee bit.
Definitely. I was like, being honest, I thought to myself, if we don't do this, does that mean it's the end of this? Like working career? Like, is that what that means? And fear also drives different emotions.
100%.
Yeah. But again, when you're best friends with someone that you work with, you've got to have honesty. You've got to have honesty because you value so much more than just the working relationship.
Yeah.
You value how you are as people. Like Nats, me and Nats could genuinely work from 8 in the... No, let's even put this out here. Train together from 6 a.m.
True.
Start work together at 8.
Yep.
Work right through 8 p.m. at night and still phone each other on the way home from the same place. With stuff to say.
Chat flows mad.
Right, so it's not just a working relationship at all. And I think the fear attached to maybe that being fractured in some way and you maybe going like that, actually, I want to do something different, or I was nervous about that from all aspects. So I think what leads me into the next point there is the universe potentially putting some blockers in our way. So
we would have had the conversation in Costa, I believe. You vividly remember this.
You don't remember it at all, do you?
I feel like from the contact that we had when you were out in Dubai, I was starting to piece the jigsaw together that that's Shivsy's not buzzing off of this. I think it was in the back of my mind, but with the conversation where you were just like, this for you, that was the end of the road on exploring that opportunity. And I never remember feeling any form of anger or disappointment or anything like that. I just remember being a bit like, oh,
what's next?
What's next? And for me, that was then probably the feelings that you were feeling coming back. That was what I was then starting to think, right, what is next? I was going out on that trip the end of April time to visit my mum and dad. It coincided they were moving home. That year my dad was retiring, and I'd went out on a final trip that I was thinking was going to be the start of maybe something new in that next chapter. And that had changed to be, you're going out on this trip going, oh, Jings, what am I going to do? What is my next step? But I think when we talk about the universe and the law of attraction, thing number one, my mum and dad were coming back from Dubai. Right, there was a reason they were coming back. Yeah, it was to retire, but things had changed slightly out there over the course of the years. And as I was just getting my parents back after having them away for 9 years, why was I thinking that the right thing was to go, right, I'll trade you. You're back to go in and I'll go over there. But the day I was flying, there was a storm in Dubai. Now, it rains out there now and again, but I mean, this was a storm that people died in, there was so much destruction, all that. And I remember waking up to a message, my dad been like, Nats, I think your flight's going to be delayed. There's been a big storm. And I was like, he's kidding me on, it's Dubai. So there's not going to be a storm. And then been like, right, okay. So I was maybe 4 or 5 hours late in taking off. Didn't think anything of it. I'm going on holiday now. I'm not going to think about work. I'm thinking, what am I going to do with my life? So we does that. That's warning sign number 2, really.
Yeah.
Rose and Campbell coming back, that. I then land in Dubai. Now, I dread to think how many times I've flown in there to visit mum and dad. It's now as common as jumping on a train or something like that, because it was always where you went. And I arrived and I was sitting at baggage, and this wee guy that's coming out to visit his granddaughter for the very first time, we're gabbing, and our passes, and we're like, where's our cases? Now, I can only describe the baggage hall at this point as pandemonium. There's literally cases everywhere. There's people sleeping on floors because the airport was half shut down. Anyway, maybe about 2.5 hours passes, we are sitting at this baggage belt. And Dad phones me and he's like, Nats, where on earth is your case? And I was like, it's not here. I don't know what to do. Long story short, my case was missing. Right? That's warning sign number 3. I've never went on that trip and never had my clothes and what I took out with me. And at the time, I never even thought they were warning signs. At the time, I was just like, right, another challenge in the way, go get some new clothes. What will be. This is an opportunity for me to explore what's next. But upon reflection, that was the universe. I'm like, right, stop stop, not,
Yeah.
you've got to do me a favour and listen.
Aye.
Right, I'll take your clothes off you.
Aye.
You need to cut about in the nude. Like, listen to what I'm saying here.
She was not naked in the
But
back.
I wore my mum's clothes, it was okay. I mind the shopping. See, very positive came out of that. But at that time for me, like, I didn't think like the world was ending or anything like that. I just thought, oh, this is hard. Like, I don't really know. And I think when you look at the law of attraction, when you look at visions, if anything is forced, it's for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So me continuing to try and force that, I was never going to do that by myself. And looking back, I dread to think, had we followed through with that, just what would have happened.
Yeah.
Like, from the monetary investment going in and the pressure that would have come with that, from not only being best pals but staying together for a period of time. I think that totally changes the tables.
Because you
So
do
it
need
does.
space. Everybody needs space.
I'm so used to giving my own space.
You
Like, I would
are.
have struggled with that. To then go on that trip and think, right, what is next for me? And there's a wee bit more to come on that in later podcasts and stuff. But you just go, like, see, when there's warning signs, you've got to listen.
You do.
And see if you're getting into something for the wrong reasons.
Aye.
There's going to be wee signs and you've got to be like
You've
tuned
got to be
into
listening
that.
to that.
Like, as we say, our number one reason was we looked at what we could get out of it financially. We never look at that.
Never.
When we're making a decision on anything. Everything's what we can do to help, what
Yeah.
we can put out there. So no wonder.
Aye,
It
you're
never
going to
does
look at that whole, guys.
Stop the bus.
This is not your path.
Yeah.
And do you know what? You've got to absolutely take that, like, you've got to take it right on the head. See, when you are being constantly met with barriers, look at the bigger picture. The universe has got your back. It's giving you everything that you want as long as you're focusing on it. So I think that kind of probably leads quite nicely into, like, chatting about when you feel that the world is ending, what you're focusing on.
Massively.
Definitely. So, like, to kind of circle back, like, before I opened Irvine,
Yeah.
I was the manager at Curves and Paisley.
Yep.
And I went down and I just was like, I've got this vision. I want to own Curves and Paisley. And totally, like, from nowhere, like, the club was not up for sale. Yeah. But law of attraction,
Do I still get?
you don't ask, you don't get. So I asked the owner of the club if I could go down and meet with him, and I met him and I asked him if I could buy Paisley. He was like, no.
I love that. Just like, this is what I want and I'm not afraid to ask.
No, and that's it. Like, you learn that you've got to put your big girl pants on, and if you do want something, just go after it. And, like, if somebody says no, then that's fine. But also trust that if it is the right thing, it will circle back to you,
Yes.
and you've still got to ask for it. So, yeah, basically, long and short, it ended up like I was going to buy it. It changed his mind, and this was fantastic. And then at the 11th hour, I was advised not to take it. And I was, when I say devastated, absolutely devastated, because that was the gym that I had worked in for 10 years nearly. I had built so many relationships. It was a brilliant gym. I loved my members. I loved what I did. I just saw myself there.
Yeah.
And I had envisioned owning it myself. And then it just went, no. So, me and Stuart, as we do when things get hard, decided that we were going on holiday. At that point, it wasn't quite as chilled the holidays we go on now. They went to Ibiza and I told them, let me party for a week and don't speak to me about it until we get back. And that's exactly how that went. It went, we let loose, we did whatever we did. And then we came home and we went, probably for the last Chinese I've had in however many years, to the Peking Chef across the road for the gym in Irvine now. And Stuart goes like that to me, that could be a Curves up there. He's like, we could do it down here. And I was like, no, we couldn't. I was like, I couldn't do it. Like, the only reason the club's up there is successful is because it was already there. And he's like, Shivs, 10 years though, you can do this. And that's where, like, the dream for Irvine was born. Now, bearing in mind, I had still created this vision for Paisley in the back of my head. And I just let the universe do its thing with it. And we opened Irvine and it was incredible. Do you remember that opening day? You were going to Dubai, I think, maybe like a week after.
later.
Yeah. And opening day. What's your final memory of me closing the gym on that opening day?
Opening day is you lying behind the desk on your back with like a pile of files and is really going, what on earth just happened? Like, I remember sitting like on the floor with like doing consultations with like 4 people just like been like, this is where we want to be. It was absolutely incredible.
100 women signed up in one day. Like, we
unreal.
had queues of people waiting to join.
remember-
And I thought I couldn't do it.
It's mad. I remember patching college just because I was like, I want to come in and do this. Devil.
But that was pretty cool.
Yep.
And obviously then we worked together so long.
Closely.
And then Paisley shut down really suddenly. And then I started getting all these messages from members who obviously knew I'd everything. And this wasn't even on my radar because I was just getting to the point where I was comfortable.
Yes.
It was nice. It wasn't that opening your business so hard, balls to the wall.
Everything was just dead flowy.
It was no bother. The two of us, pure dream team, loving life.
And the girls that we had at the time,
Aye.
like, what did we would have had? Like Rosie, Anna, Cara, like everything was
Perfect.
easy feeling.
And what happens when everything's perfect is you just go like,
Let's do something else as well.
let's do something else, right? So, moral of the story, is Vic be content?
No, not at all.
No, I'm joking.
Not at all.
So I decided to open Paisley, and that's when you decided that you wanted to take the next step into being manager of Irfin, which was amazing. And then decided to open Paisley, managed to get everything up and running within, 3 months? It was a time turnaround, and we had to invest a lot in the property because what had happened was once I had left, the owner had then moved to a different property, and then I wanted to take it back because it was more central, but the place was a shit tip. Basically,
I was wondering how you were going to put that in a nice way there.
it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. And I managed to, we when I say we, I say Stuart and all the boys that helped him managed to get the place looking fantastic. Yeah. It was gorgeous. Then, the week before opening,
Yeah.
my mum got taken into hospital. Nat's got taken into hospital. Yeah. And one of the coaches that I had been training and paying for 9 weeks decided it wasn't for her.
Super ideal.
I was pure buzzing, and me being me with a law of attraction and all that, invested so much time and energy, moved away from my baby, which was so comfortable.
Yep.
And then decided that I was going to be opening Paisley. Goes, oh, there's so many things happening here.
Yeah.
Can I do this? But Nats, what happened to you?
I think when we talk about like use of language and like the things that we put out there, I'm not really someone that would ever use like terminology like I'm stressed. Like it's just something that I don't really think, it doesn't sit with me. Like I would use other words, but it would probably be a time in life that I would say I'd let things get a little bit too much. Like I was new to managing a club that was a busy club. I'd always been used to working alongside like yourself. We'd always done everything together, and all of a sudden it was just me and a team. And I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make it work? And that probably resulted in me putting quite a bit of extra like time, doing a lot of things in my own time, burning out. I dread to think what I was maybe like as a person at that time. I would never have done anything to be horrible deliberately, but I must have been a wee bit like short, snappy, a bit on edge, like without even realising and being that tuned in. But long story short, there was a day in the club, it was a Wednesday, and I remember being like, everything's moving. Everything's like a wee bit sideways here. And long story short, went home and had like ended up getting taken to hospital with a thought of suspected meningitis. And at that time, obviously, you're like, oh my God, this is really, really serious. My mum was home at the time, which was great. Obviously telling me like I'm doing too much and all the pure more stuff from there. But ended up just being like labyrinthitis, but a knock-on effect of just letting things build up and not really listening to the wee knocks at the door when things are maybe a bit too much, just letting them slam and thinking I need to do this all by myself. Like I'm the only one that can do X, Y and Z, and not really investing in the team to help me. And I remember phoning you and being like, so they think I've got meningitis and I'm in the hospital, but I'm going to be okay and I'll be there on the Monday.
I was like that, put your mum on.
And I remember like before getting out of the hospital, like I knew how hard it was for you, and I think I probably had a lot from you at the time because I knew how much you had going on. So I didn't want to be open and honest about where I was feeling or the challenges I had, because I was like, like, Shivs has got bigger fish to be frying just now. Like, I've just got to go on with this. And I remember,
I'm grateful for, but we have now obviously had those conversations that we are really honest with each other.
you are one person, stop being a dafty. And getting out of the hospital and being like, right, I really, really want to be able to come and help you, because I could see the toll that it had on you. Like, you were really having to work. But I think it shows you, like, when things get really hard in life, some people, like, just pull right back, or you dive right in. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying do it to the point that you're lying in a hospital bed, like sideways and everything's a wee bit spinning and your ma's chewing your ear off because she's absolutely raging at you. But don't shy away from the hard stuff. And I think it's really, like, you're proof in the pudding with that for what you then went on to do with Paisley and the challenges that you overcame. Like, that was not an easy journey that, from the outside looking in, anyone that's listening to this probably doesn't even know any of that happened because it was behind closed doors and we just did it. But you worked your socks off to make that work.
It was definitely one of the bigger challenges that I would say that I've been through. I would say that when it comes to opening any business, it's stressful when you've got another one that you feel almost like a bit of guilt that you're leaving behind. And even like a couple of comments that were made after I left the gym, like, oh, she's just left and done that. It was really, really hard, and it was quite hurtful hearing that, because I just knew how much I had ploughed into opening Irvine and ploughed into, like, Paisley at the same time. And I mean, like, my heart and my soul.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, opening week, it being wild hard. Like, it was really, really hard. Like, you weren't getting a break, you weren't eating. It was crazy. It was tough. And I remember, like, you did something that was so nice, but it almost tipped me to a complete breaking point. And what I mean by that is, it was the last circuit on the Friday night of opening week. I was absolutely game facing it, let's just say, right?
Yeah, like, at this point you've worked like 7 till 11 for the first 3 days and then been on full shifts the rest of the night. You're exhausted.
Yeah, you're tired. And I was on my circuit and the door opened at like 7:15 at night, and there was a busload of members for Irvine, and I looked at them and I feel even emotional, like, talking about it now, but my wee chin started going, and I made it look like I was just so happy that they came up, when actually it was like, what have I done here? Yeah. Like, this is hard. And you came on the circuit, and I remember having to pure game face it, and I was just like, I've left that behind to do this. If I made this huge mistake, and I feel like I'm crumbling here.
Yeah.
And then you left, and I just get it all the way home because it was hard and I was tired. And then the next week we got some more curveballs. At that point as well, the members for Irvine were like that. This place is so nice. Why is Irvine not? I was like, Auntie Stuart, we need to revamp Irvine. Go and get them whatever they want. Do that. So did that, and then we did that, and then I remember coming down. Stuart was like decorating, fixing bits of machines, and one of the coaches had told me, I think it was a Saturday or something like that, Friday, whatever it was.
Yeah.
She then said to me, listen, I'm going to give you a wee bit of notice, but I'm not going to be staying with you. And at that point I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? Like, this is already like really, really hard. And I came down and I walked into Irvine. For anybody that doesn't know what it looks like, you walk in and the circuit's here, the desk's here, and Stuart was on one of the machines just in front of me. And he went, are you all right? And I went, no. And I fell to my knees. And I put my head down on one of the machines, and I was like, what have I done? Yeah. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And he was like, you can. He's like, this will pass. He's like, it's just hard now. You know what it feels like. You can get through this. And I think there's volumes to having someone like that you live with, who's in your corner, who's at home, who can give you that kind of support. And then you as well, like, you gave me so much support with that, like, without even knowing it. And then I went, right, okay, do you know what, it will pass, it'll be fine. I got to sleep and I got some Pepsi.
Two main things that help.
I got to sleep and I got seated, and then I was fine to go. And then I met the amazing team, like the start of the team that they had now, which was really good.
I think it's something that people really, really don't see, like the bigger picture on. I think in business, people will see the end result. People see either the service you deliver, or they assume what success might come off the back of it. And yeah, of course, you get into business to be successful, etc. But they don't see that hard work that gets put in.
Yep.
They don't see that when you're up at 5:30 in the morning answering emails or creating content for your social media or checking in to make sure your team's okay, your members are okay. There's so much goes on behind the scenes that people see us for 30 minutes. They don't see what you do the other 23 and a half hours of your day. But when the reason that you get into it is to help people,
Aye.
it's a driving force.
It is.
And even when that was tough, and even when it was your earthing members that you were gutted, you were stepping away from, because they're your family at that point.
They're your people.
They are your people. You're doing it because the opportunity that you've got to help all these people in Paisley that once had that amazing club, that community that was taken away from them. And I think that definitely drove you to put the hours in, to create the new team, to put all that hard work in. That's then got you, as we follow on to the next bit of like living your best life. Like what actually is that? And do we shy away from the hard things because living our best life, we think we know what it is, but we don't actually know what it is.
Yeah.
But the pressures that come with social media nowadays, the pressures that come with what you believe trends are and what you should do. So if you were to think about living your best life, what would that be for you?
Being calm and being connected and having enough time and being able to make a difference. Yeah. And I think like that's it. I think for a lot of years you're thinking about like probably like sometimes materialistic stuff, you know, that's for me now at the point where I'm at and what I'm hoping to kind of do. Why can I like while taking a little step back from the actual day-to-day runnings in the club to create space for something else.
Nice.
And whether that be this amazing sisterhood circle or growing and developing my skills to be able to manage this and then bring that back to the clubs. But I think that for me now, I would say like my best life is connection, having enough time with my friends and my family and my people that I love, and being calm.
Yes.
Being calm, because there is a lot to be said for that internal calm. Yeah. What about you? What's your best life?
I think for me, I use the word calm all the time. I think there's definitely calm, content, and being able to experience. That would probably like be my three big things. See, just being able to be calm, where you can sit and you know that you're enough. You've made an impact.
Yeah.
You've done everything that you need to do. You've helped your people, whether it be your members, your friends, your family, and just know that you've done that. I think there's huge, huge value in that. And I talk about it all the time. I get it in me glimmers just now. And see, when I get it, I'm like, oh, this is how I want to feel. Yeah. I think I can be so guilty of that, constantly running about, doing everything for people, or always being here, there, everywhere, that sometimes don't give myself the opportunity to feel that. And that's definitely like my best life, that's there. I think getting to experience is massive. So through like learning, through travel, through just connecting with people, I think is huge. But for me, content is a really, really big one.
Yeah.
And I think when you're someone that always strives for that next thing, like what is that I'm going to do next? What is that next challenge? Whether it be fitness related or like business related as well, like to get to a point that you just go like, I'm content, like I'm making a big enough impact, helping people change their lives. Like I'm happy with that. I don't need to push for, right, what's next, and chase that constant chasing. I don't want to get to that. I want to get to the point that it's content. And I genuinely believe that what we're going to create with the sisterhood circle is that. Yeah. And that really
it's that pure
excites me, man. Like honestly, it is. But I think the thing that is important for anyone that's listening, we'd absolutely love to know for you guys what living your best life actually means for yous.
Yeah, definitely. Tell me something.
Oh.
How does social media affect your perception of what your best life is? Because I've recently come off of social media on my phone, which is like unreal.
This is huge. Like, I genuinely believe that the majority of people don't know what living their best life is because they don't know what they want. They are getting fed and they're absorbing what everyone else's best life is, whether it be on TikTok, Instagram, from the way that someone looks, to the materialistic things that they've got, to the holiday pictures that get put on, to the nights out, all that. And I think people mould what living their best life should look like that, rather than actually what's important to them. And I think for us, like, we never once talked about what we have. It was all how we feel, and how that then allows us opportunity. But I think we're so materialistic now with social media that it puts that pressure on it. And I do think like I think social media can be a really positive thing in the right ways, but that worries me for younger generations to come about what does it do for their mental health, thinking like that's their best life and not really getting connected with themselves.
Exactly. And I think that it's so important to actually feel, not just to see. I think that, see, when we think about like your stories on Instagram, or like, we're not on TikTok, I think that would fry my circuits. Like, I genuinely do like
TikTok.
no. So like, for me, I would say that like you can get so like you're consumed by social media and what everybody else is doing, that you're seeing what they're doing and it's creating something, whether it be like a vision of what you want in your head, but is it actually letting you feel what you want to feel?
Not at all.
And know who you are as a person. I think like if I can give any advice to anybody that's listening to this, is connect with yourself. Like, connect with yourself. Ask yourself what you want. Like, think about the law of attraction. Read The Secret. Like, get The Secret for teenagers, for your kids.
Yes.
Like, start teaching the younger generations that actually you're the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
And get in touch with how you want to feel. And that's your best life.
And say thing at all bases of connection. And that's what this is all about. Like, the more connected you are with your people, with yourself, with the universe, the more everything then starts to come in line from there.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So I think that might be the second podcast done.
Tick box job
right
done.
off.
But definitely let us know what living at your best life means for you guys. All right.
Right. Thank you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.